Many immigrants want to start a company in the United States. The US has long been known as the land of opportunity, and many immigrants come here to take advantage of these opportunities. Running your own business is an important part of the American dream. Some immigrants dream of coming to the country and becoming entrepreneurs. Others come here and look for jobs. Though difficult, it is possible for immigrants to start and run businesses in the United States. Some immigrants can make their dreams a reality. A 2019 report by National Geographic tells us how important immigrant businesses are. 44 of the top Fortune 500 companies are immigrant-owned. It's true to some extent that starting a company is harder for an immigrant than it is for a US citizen, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. I'm Andes Mejer. I'm an immigration attorney, a business owner, and an immigrant myself. In today's video, I'll be talking about the considerations and process of starting a company as an immigrant. I'll cover visas, business types, registration, and step-by-step process for starting a business. If you're an undocumented immigrant or someone on the immigration journey, keep watching the video till the end. If you find the video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel and checking out our other videos. Now let's jump into it. For immigrants, starting a company could be intimidating. Immigrants can't work in the US unless they have a work permit or a valid visa allowing them to do so. You can start a business without a green card or a valid work visa, but technically you aren't allowed to work in that business. More importantly, the lack of legal status can make showing the necessary documents to open a business harder than it needs to be. Navigating visa requirements and applications can be difficult if you don't have the necessary know-how. Also, all the paperwork for registering a company is in English. So if you don't speak English, well, you're probably not going to understand this video, but you're also going to need help with someone you trust to get it done for you. There are a few other hurdles as well. You'll need to figure out a solid business idea. One method is to bring goods and services from your native country. Another common new business is to provide a service you know well. A lot of my clients work in construction or landscaping, and many of them have opened their own business, and they've been doing it for years. Remember, if you're not a fluent English speaker, you may find it difficult to grow your company, but it doesn't mean you can't start. You will face discrimination when starting your company. Some people are going to treat you differently because of your language, your culture, or for no good reason at all, just because you're different. Don't let that stop you. Just be prepared for it because it happens to everyone. Funding is also important before starting a business. Some visas need you to have a significant amount of capital in order to start the company. You may not be able to secure funding from a bank you can't legally work with within the US. Alternatively, private individuals can loan you the money, but just be careful that one, they're not taking advantage of you, and two, depending on the type of visa, sourcing funds is a big deal, and a loan isn't going to cover it. So things to consider, and the next thing you're going to need to consider, starting a business as an immigrant, what visa, or do you even need a visa? Visas regulate who can come and live in the country. There are special kinds of visas, such as student visas, work visas, and more. Keep in mind, an immigrant or a foreign national in the US can only work if their visa allows them to do so. Now, it's important to understand that you do not need a visa to start a company, but you do need a visa if you plan on working in a business that you have invested in. Two such visas are E-2 treaty visa or the EB-5 investor visa. What is a treaty visa? Well, it's actually called a treaty investor visa. The United States has special agreements with certain countries called treaty countries. People coming from these countries can apply for a treaty-based visa and live and work inside the United States. The list of these countries does not include China, Russia, or India. It does include Taiwan, though. So E-2 visas are for individuals looking to come to the US to either start a new business or join an existing one. These individuals need to show that they will profitably run a company in the United States. There are certain requirements, like everything, for applying for an E-2 visa. Only the following people can get it. First, you have to be from one of the 78 treaty countries. Yep, you heard that right, 78. So I'm not going to list them all, but here are some: Argentina, Australia, Canada, Chile, Costa Rica, Ecuador, France, Germany, Honduras, Japan, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, Philippines, Poland, Spain, you get the idea. There are a lot of them. So you have to be in a treaty country, and you have to invest a certain amount of money in a real and active company. Those who are in or seeking to be in the United States for the sole purpose of starting and running a company, you have to show that you're a 50% owner of the company or you have operational control. They can show operational control by holding a managerial position. Investors with an E2 visa can stay in the United States for up to 2 years. After that, they can apply for an extension to stay for 2 or more years. Also, there's no limit to the number of extensions that an immigrant can do and an E2 visa can apply for. At some point, you're likely going to want to apply for a green card. Second type of visa lets you start a company is an EB-5 visa. It's also called an employment-based fifth preference visa. But it should be known as the millionaire's visa because it's available for foreign entrepreneurs who invest at least $1 million in a company. By the way, Trump tried to make that 1.8 million. And you have to invest $1 million and you have to create 10 new full-time employees. However, if you work with a targeted employment area and a regional center, you only have to invest $500,000 and you don't need to worry about creating 10 full-time jobs. It's assumed within the context of that project. The regional center will combine a variety of investors in one large project. Investors who qualify for EB-5 can eventually apply for U.S. residency and citizenship. The visa grants investors conditional permanent residence for a period of 2 years. Then you can then apply to remove the conditions on your green card and ultimately apply for citizenship. But you need $500,000 or $1 million. So it is harder to achieve, and there's a lot more requirements than E2 visa. This brings me to the next important consideration, type of business. Now, let's say you've decided to start a company and have fleshed out your business idea. Next thing is deciding what type of business you want. When you're starting your business, the structure is important. A business entity type has to be chosen in the beginning. This is basically what the structure of your company will be like and how it will be organized. The business entity you choose will decide how much taxes you pay and what paperwork you're going to need. It also plays a role in your personal liability or how much responsibility you have regarding the actions of the company. There are many different types of business entities in the US. And some of the more common ones are sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability company. There's also limited liability partnership. There's C corporations, S corporations. There's a variety. But let's talk about the most common one. First, sole proprietorship. It's a business type that is just one owner who pays personal income tax on profits earned from the business. This is the easiest type of business to establish or take part due to lack of really any significant government regulation as this. As such, these types of businesses are very popular among sole owners of business, individual self-contractors, and consultants. Another business type is a partnership, which is a formal arrangement by 2 or more parties to manage and operate a business and share its profits or losses. There are several types of partnership arrangements. In general partnership company, all members have both profits and liabilities, but there's also a limited liability partnership where partners may have limited liability. This really comes into responsibility. In a sole proprietorship, you, the individual, is 100% liable for things the company does. In a partnership, you may not be 100% liable. It may be it's shared with your partners. And limited liability is just that it limits your personal liability and other things. It gives a variety of benefits, but that is a larger conversation and we're not going to cover it here today. Just know that there is a partnership and there is a limited liability partnership as well. Well, those are less common in smaller businesses nowadays. As an immigrant, you will unfortunately not be able to avail of all of these options. For example, immigrants won't be able to form an S corporation. It's because an S corporation needs each shareholder in the company to be a US citizen or a permanent resident alien. Generally, C corporations and limited liability companies are ideal for immigrants. I personally am a limited liability company treated as an S corporation for tax purposes. These companies can also be run outside the United States. I'm talking about a C corporation or a limited liability company, which can be a priority for immigrants. especially those who already have their business up and running in their own country and are just looking to create an office or a sister company inside the United States. So let's talk about C corporations. They're independent entities which are separate from the owners or shareholders. This means the shareholder controls and runs the company. There could be more than one shareholder, there often is. But their personal legal and tax work are independent of the business. The good thing is you don't need a board of directors or officers at many levels to form a C corporation. One person can fulfill all those roles, but most small business owners often don't choose the C corporate structure. Let's get into why by discussing some pros and cons of the C Corp entity. C Corps are separate legal bodies having their own rights and responsibilities. This means the owner's personal finances are protected. Simply put, an owner can't be sued or held responsible for the company's debts or obligations in a C corporation. Another benefit of a C corporation structure is the perpetual existence. In simple terms, if you declare bankruptcy or die, the corporation will still live on. Think of General Motors and GE and Ford. Those companies have been around for over 100 years. They don't die. If we look at finances, C corporations have certain benefits as well. C corporations have the highest eligibility for tax deductions. On top of this, owners of these companies pay a lower self-employment tax to the IRS. Trends show that outside investors prefer C corporations when they invest. You may be wondering, why is that? Well, one of the reasons could be paying taxes only when they receive dividends. There are also disadvantages to choosing a C corporation. When it comes to compliance, there are many more formalities for a C corporation. You will have to hold the board or shareholder meetings, notes, take down minutes, and make bylaws. Bylaws are essentially rules and regulations that you make within the company. Similarly, the filing fee is higher for C corporations than proprietorships or partnerships. The biggest negative on a C corporation is double taxation. What I mean by that is the company pays taxes on its profits. That gets handled in the corporate tax return. On top of that, the owner or the shareholder pay income tax on their personal income, even if that income comes from a corporation that already paid taxes on those earnings. Finally, C corporations owners not having personal liability has downsides too. Owners can't deduct their business losses on their personal tax returns because the business is a separate entity. Next up, we have LLC corporations, or limited liability companies, which are more of a hybrid structure. They have elements from other business entities and they combine them. As the name suggests, LLCs, limited liability company, limits personal liability. It's similar to a limited liability partnership in that regard. The owners of the company are also called members rather than shareholders. These members are not personally liable for the company's debts, like a C corporation. Sole proprietorships and partnership business structures have fewer ongoing requirements and paperwork. LLCs incorporate this benefit in their model, which makes them a good choice for many people. A bonus of choosing an LLC business entity type is that you have the choice of how you want your business to be taxed. C corporations are taxed as corporate entities, but members can opt to have their LLC taxed as a partnership as well, also known as S corporation. Very similar. It is what I chose. You can choose what's called pass-through taxation. This means that the taxes of the business flow through to your personal taxes. So if the company made 100,000, then you're going to profit, then you're going to put those 100,000 profits on your personal taxes. You're not going to pay taxes on the corporate side and on the personal side. You also have more flexibility in running your business if you operate as an LLC. The owners can decide amongst themselves how they want to split the profits. For example, LLCs are popular with small business owners, particularly. The hybrid model, which gives the ease of sole proprietorship and the legal protection of a corporation, is quite appealing. Now that we've talked about some of the basics, here's how you can start a company as an immigrant. Everything starts with an idea. So what is the problem in the marketplace that you are going to solve? Who has this problem? This will be your target audience. These are people who have a problem that your business will solve for them by providing a service or selling a product. For example, You're an immigrant and you want to get legal status. Well, I'm an immigration attorney and my firm can help you achieve that legal status. We provide the service of qualifying you, assisting you in the process, and ultimately helping you go from an undocumented immigrant or a visa holder to a lawful permanent resident and a citizen. So, what's the problem that you're going to solve? Who are you going to solve it for? The who is going to be your target audience. How are you going to reach them? This will be your marketing plan. You have to find a way to educate the market about the problem that you can solve for them. How will you solve the problem for them? What I mean is, do you need people, tools, computers, etc.? When someone hires you to solve their problem, how will you get that problem solved? Or your solution is a product. Okay, so if their problem is, I don't know, they need glue, how are you going to manufacture that glue? Where are you going to get it made? How are you going to get it delivered to the client? Now that you've decided what you're going to do, who you're going to do it for, and how you're going to do it, that's where the business entity type plays a role. You need to select the structure that best suits your company's long-term needs. As an immigrant, you can opt for a C corporation or an LLC structure. Both business entity types have their respective benefits and drawbacks that we discovered before. The location where your business will operate needs to be decided beforehand. This is because you need to decide whether you're going to be renting or buying a location. And also, it's linked where your business is going to be, what service you're going to be offering. You need to know a location because you're going to have to register your business. And there are different requirements in state for renting or buying space. Next, you're going to figure out how you, as an immigrant, will set up your business. This is where visa requirements come in, and we discussed that before. We looked at the E-2 visa that an immigrant can get to immigrate to the United States and set up their business. This visa is for people who belong to treaty countries like Mexico, Canada, Chile, and many others. Other visas we discussed was the EB-5, which is for immigrants who invest a certain amount of money, a lot, and create jobs in the United States. You'll also have to consider finances and funding. To start a business, you're going to need initial funding for the starting of costs and expenses. You may already have saved up the starting capital you need to create your business. If you don't have the funds, there are options, but if you're getting a visa, you're not going to be able to get loans to cover that. Now, you can investigate business loans in your area or state. Alternatively, there are banks and credit unions that cater specifically to immigrants who need loans. Some research can connect you to the lender that best fits your needs. There are also immigrant grants available in the US subject to the state you're in. You don't need to be a resident of the US to start a business. This means you don't need to have a social security number. Instead, you can use your individual taxpayer identification number, also referred to as an IT. It will fulfill many of the requirements of being a business owner. This is paired with the employer identification number that all businesses must have, and that's also issued by the IRS. So employer identification number is the social security number for a business. That's done federally, but you're going to have to register your company in whatever state that you're going to be operating in. The next step is registration, which is a very crucial part of starting your business. You need a license to open a business anywhere in the United States, and you need to provide paperwork for it along with a fee. All businesses must follow requirements by local, state, and federal authorities. So I'd say research is very important for where you want to set up home base. Secondly, hiring a business coach or financial advisor, and sometimes legal advisor, can be of great help, particularly if you're looking at an E-2 visa or an EB-5 visa. There's no way you're doing that without financial and legal advice. There are services where experts are available to immigrant business owners specifically. You can explore this option in your local area. Along with your business license, you need to open a bank account to manage your finances. As an immigrant, you can use your ITIN for identification and on tax returns. Depending on your business entity type, you'll have a variety of tax requirements. For example, do you have sales tax in your state for your product or service? Now, most services don't have sales tax, but some do. Products almost certainly will. And if you're shipping it out of state, well, do you now have to pay sales tax because you're shipping it to a state that doesn't require it? Every region and state is different. Do your homework. You also need to manage an accounting system for your business. This will help in keeping logs and tracking sales. Digital accounting systems or hiring an accountant are good options to consider. I believe by following all these processes above, you can make your dream of starting a company in the US a reality. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. I love business. I love talking about business. It's one of my passions. So if you have a question, drop it below. I'd love to hear from you. And that wraps up our video for today. If this video was of value to you, please consider liking and sharing it with people who may find it helpful. Also, drop any immigrant-related or business-related questions you have in the comments below. We'll try our best to provide an answer to you. You can always give us a call if you want to discuss your case or your situation. Remember, if we won't take your money if we can't help you. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay healthy and be well.